We are back with our Tuesday, week 7 COVID reading, and it's Artists and Their Pets, of course, halfway through the book just about, and we're going to read about Georgia O'Keeffe, American modernist. Awesome. Georgia O'Keeffe preferred not to have people around, as she created her huge paintings of natural forms, but she loved the company of her Siamese cats and her teddy bear-like chow dogs. Georgia O'Keeffe is known internationally for her bold art, especially her large flower paintings. She is often called the mother of American modernism. Born in 1887, the second of 7 children, Georgia grew up on a dairy farm in Wisconsin where there were cows, horses, dogs, and cats. When she grew up, O'Keeffe had a Siamese cat, but she loved dogs too, and in the 1950s, she had a poodle named Pancho, which I couldn't find any pictures of the poodle, but I have plenty of her with the chows and her Siamese cat. From early on, her mother encouraged her to study art, and she took watercolor lessons from a local artist, Sarah Mann. At the time, it was unusual for families to encourage higher education for their daughters. But O'Keeffe's family was different. And in 1905, Georgia went to the Art Institute of Chicago, and from 1907 to the Art Student League in New York. Up and in place. There, through the influential artist and teacher, William Merritt Chase, she learned the techniques of traditional painting. While at the Art Students League, she won the William Merritt Chase Still Life Prize in 1908. O'Keeffe's prize was a scholarship for the League Summer School in Lake George, New York, and while she was there, she visited an exhibition of watercolors by the French sculptor Auguste Rodin at Gallery 291, owned by the famous photographer Alfred Stieglitz. Once O'Keeffe had finished studying, however, she decided she was not good enough to be able to earn a living as a painter. She took a job as a commercial artist in Chicago, drawing lace and embroidery for advertisements. She then contracted measles, which affected her eyesight. O'Keeffe moved back in with her mother and siblings in Virginia. She enrolled in the University of Virginia's summer school art classes, where she learned about the artistic theories of the artist Arthur Wesley Dow, and particularly how to use line, color, and shading harmoniously. O'Keeffe was attracted to the wild and open landscape around Amarillo, Texas, so she went there and taught art. As the surroundings were quite harsh, she taught her students how to see beauty in everything, saying they should draw what they loved. One day, one of her students brought his pony to class. Only in Texas. O'Keeffe did not flinch, but encouraged everyone to draw it. It was unconventional actions like this that inspired her students and other teachers, but angered the authorities that wanted her to follow strict lesson plans and art books. O'Keeffe believed that art students should express themselves individually rather than simply copy the work of the old masters, which was the traditional way of teaching art. She thought that students who could not relate to the times and places of past art would not learn from it. And I agree with her pedagogy there, 100%. We do look at some old art masters or whatever, but we just tend to draw inspiration from them rather than trying to recreate them or do it exactly as they do. Piece of string. Oh no. Got it. In 1914, O'Keeffe attended Columbia Teachers College in New York City and once again took classes from Arthur Wesley Dow. His ideas had a powerful effect on her art. She did extremely well in the creative courses, but she struggled at academic subjects. During the summer of 1915, O'Keeffe needed to earn money, and she accepted another teaching position In her spare time, she drew natural forms in charcoal, making them look different and unique. Before I turn the page, I forgot to show you the picture of her teaching in Texas with the pony and her students in the front. She drew natural forms in charcoal, making them look different and unique. The following year, a friend sent some of these drawings to Alfred Stieglitz. He immediately showed 10 of them in his Gallery 291. Ooh. Although O'Keeffe did not know about this. Stieglitz was a central figure in making modern artists known in New York, and he loved O'Keeffe's drawings. He asked to see more of her work. Here we see one of her charcoal drawings in the kitty. And I'll show some of those charcoal drawings also. O'Keeffe was teaching in Canyon, Texas. Another weird wording from this book, but you know. In Canyon, Texas. It was a town smaller than Amarillo. It means yellow in Spanish, so I'm trying to say Amarillo, but they probably pronounce it Amarillo there, so I don't know. She loved the colors of the skies and the nearby Palo Duro Canyon, and she spent time painting vibrant watercolors there. By then, she and Stieglitz were writing to each other regularly, and in the spring of 1917, he held her first solo exhibition. When she became ill with the flu, he suggested she move back to New York. As soon as she arrived, Stieglitz helped her find a place to stay, took many photographs of her, and he helped to make her famous. Sounds like a budding romance. In January 1923, an exhibition of O'Keeffe's work at Gallery 291 attracted 500 people on the first day. She showed 100 watercolors, oil paintings, and charcoal drawings. As a woman in the modern art world, she attracted much attention. It was mostly a man's world then in art and everything else, except, I guess, motherhood was the one thing women had a claim on. So this was a big deal, women kind of getting seen for things other than producing babies. Alfred Stieglitz's first wife, he was married. Whoops. I'm going to restart that sentence. Alfred Stieglitz's first wife divorced him in 1924. He and O'Keeffe were married. I had to stop there because, again, it's another weird sentence structure. Like, the editor of this book, they need to rethink their strategy. Alfred Stieglitz's first wife divorced him in 1924. He and O'Keeffe were married. Maybe it meant to say, when Alfred Stieglitz's first wife divorced him in 1924, he and O'Keeffe were married. That sounds better. Thank you, Grace. You're welcome. Although Stieglitz was 23 years older than O'Keeffe, and he loved the city while she preferred the country, they both shared the love of art. Soon after their marriage, O'Keeffe began to paint large canvases of brightly colored flowers. No one had ever painted huge flowers like these. They were clear and precise, and they made her famous. O'Keeffe's flower paintings sold for high prices, and in 1925 she began to paint New York skyscrapers from her apartment on the 30th floor and the newly built Shelton Hotel in Manhattan. At the time, it was the tallest hotel in the world. She also spent time at the Stieglitz family house at Lake George, where she painted abstractions of the natural world. She became recognized as one of America's most important artists. Because the landscape and architecture appealed to her from 1929, O'Keeffe began spending summers alone in New Mexico. For the next 20 years, she spent a lot of time living and working there, away from New York and her husband. She loved exploring and painting the landscape, and just as she had challenged her students in Texas to see the beauty around them, she saw beauty everywhere too, including in that of skulls that she would find in the landscape. Her fame continued to grow around the world. In 1940, she bought a house in New Mexico where she was happy even though it was isolated and had no running water, electricity, or phone. Later, she bought an abandoned house in the village of Abiqui that had a large garden. In 1946, she flew back to New York to be with Stieglitz, who had suffered a stroke, and he died that summer. He was 23 years older than her, 23, I believe, somewhere around that. So he was much, much older, but they were super in love. Among many awards, O'Keeffe was elected to the National Institute of Arts and Letters, a great honor for a female artist. She traveled abroad a bit, and her paintings became more abstract. After O'Keeffe's poodle Pancho was tragically killed by a car, a neighbor gave her 2 Chow Chow puppies. Oh, they're so fluffy, I want to stick my hands in their fur. Which she named Bo and Chia. From then on, she always had pet chows, 6 in total during her life, including Bobo, Jingo, and Inca. When she was 85, she reported, "Jingo's a year and 5 months old now. It seems to be my mission in life to wait on a dog." Sadly, O'Keeffe began losing her eyesight in 1972. She stopped painting, taking up pottery instead. As you will see here, some of her pottery pieces, beautiful organic forms. She died in 1986, aged 98. Wow, did she live a long and glorious life in the modern art scene of New York with one of their top men, Alfred Stieglitz. She was going back and forth between that beautiful countryside to New York and made glorious, beautiful artwork because of it. Woman power. Okay, Georgia. So my suggestion to you is to find beauty in the world around you, like she told her students. If it doesn't interest you, don't paint it. Don't do it. So find something that interests you and paint it and make it beautiful. Get bigger and bolder and brighter and abstract the colors like she did. If you like buildings, draw the city that you see in front of you and abstract it. Change the colors. Zoom in on it. Find beauty in every day. Okay? See ya.